Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. 10 days into the war in Iran, the Trump administration remains...
We've already won in many ways, but we haven't won enough. We go forward more determined than ever to achieve ultimate victory that will end this long-running danger once and for all. 47 years, it should have been done a long time ago. The world would have been a different place had some president had the courage to go and do it.
And that was what President Trump told lawmakers gathered at his Doral Golf Club earlier today. KPBS military reporter Andrew Dyer spoke to one expert who says the way the administration describes early operations as successful doesn't mean there's a coherent strategy.
Airstrikes from guided missiles, fighter jets, and the first U.S. torpedo strike since World War II. The Pentagon says it struck more than 3,000 targets in the first week of operations in Iran. On CBS 60 Minutes last night, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said U.S. capabilities are overwhelming compared to what Iran's are.
But we can be clear with the American people that this is not a fair fight, and that's on purpose.
Jonathan Grau.
Apologies for that. It appears we're having some technical difficulties. And we'll try to bring you that story coming up.
Well, after a warm stretch, we're cooler just for a few days. Tonight, we're going to get down into the 40s in most areas away from the coastline. San Diego 55 and Chula Vista 52. So a little warmer here from San Diego down to the international border and up the coast. But you get up to Oceanside, even there, we'll get down to 48 degrees and a little nippy there into the mountains. And Campo is going to be running chilly. Beautiful day Tuesday, but a big warming trend will take us to near record highs later this week. Details to come.
The San Diego Zoo today won an extension of its lease in Balboa Park. The City Council approved the deal unanimously this afternoon. And KPBS reporter Andrew Bowen joins us from the newsroom with more on that deal now. Andrew.
Well, Maya, the city began talks with the zoo 8 months ago in an effort to find new revenue sources to help balance its budget. The proposal gives the zoo another 44 years on its lease in exchange for a minimum $3 million payment to the city each year. That money would disappear if the city eliminates parking fees in Balboa Park. The city's Office of the Independent Budget Analyst estimated the lease is worth the equivalent of $98.5 million if paid parking continues 7 days per week. Councilmember Jen Campbell said the zoo has a big impact on the local economy.
This amendment strengthens the city's long-standing partnership with the zoo, providing stability for continued investment in the property and creates meaningful revenue for the city. This agreement includes an annual payment to the city that will grow over time.
And Maya, in addition to those cash payments to the city, the zoo also committed to offering free daily admission tickets for nonprofits, schools, and children. The zoo says that's worth another $250,000 per year. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
A partial government shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security is leading to travel headaches at airports across the country. And as Lee Waldman reports, lines at security checkpoints are stretching for hours amid a busy spring break travel season.
I started a stopwatch. 32 minutes. 32 so it's moving, but it's a long line. We're going to miss our flight, I'm sure.
How long has it been, guys?
3 hours, probably.
spring break travel nightmares at airports across the country.
Started deep inside the garage, and it circles around 7 times before you even get to this part.
At the Louis Armstrong New Orleans International Airport, TSA is advising waits can extend up to 2 hours long. In Houston at the William Hobby Airport, TSA lines stretched more than 3 hours again today after similar wait times Sunday. Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport is also advising travelers to arrive early for flights Monday and give themselves extra time to make it through security.
We know what's going on, but I think it needs to be cleaned up.
The longer wait times are being blamed on the partial government shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security, which oversees the TSA. Funding for the department lapsed in mid-February amid a standoff between Republicans and Democrats over federal immigration reform. Now, TSA workers are set to miss their first full paycheck this week. In a statement, a DHS spokesperson said, quote, "These frontline heroes received only partial paychecks earlier this month and now face their first full missed paycheck, leading to financial hardship, absences, and crippling staffing shortages." Lee Waldman, KPBS News.
The County of San Diego opened 2 waitlists for new affordable housing communities in Fallbrook and San Marcos this morning. KPBS Penner fellow Amy Burris reports this comes after Section 8 waitlist closures across the county.
New Section 8 waitlists are now open for a specific type of voucher tied to properties. Marisol Meadows and Fallbrook will have 10 units for low-income families. And Via Serena 2 and San Marcos will have 47 units for low-income seniors. San Diego County's general Section 8 waitlist closed last month due to limited federal funding and high demand. Most of the 6 housing authorities throughout the county have similarly closed their waitlists. But funding for the Fallbrook and San Marcos projects was finalized in 2024, and these new waitlists will be open until March 20th. Nick Martinez is the Assistant Director at the County of San Diego Housing and Community Development Services Office.
You don't have to sign up on the first day. It's not first come, first serve. You can sign up through multiple different venues. You can sign up online through an online portal, over the phone, or in person.
The county will screen those chosen through a lottery system to make sure their income is below 50% of the area median income. The developer will also screen candidates. Martinez said the county is expecting thousands of applicants for both locations.
We do anticipate that there will be a number of people that are interested in this opportunity, right? With the high cost of housing in the region, housing and affordable housing especially is in great demand.
For more information, visit the county's Housing and Community Development Services website. Emmy Burris, KPBS News.
And Public Matters is a partnership with KPBS, iNewsSource, and Voice of San Diego. You can see more of our stories at kpbs.org/Public Matters. Lemon Grove City Council is one step closer to voting on a permanent ordinance that could expand renters' protections. KPBS East County reporter Elaine Alfaro says city staff are gathering community feedback through public workshops, but council members remain divided on the issue.
It's safe to say that Lemon Grove council members have strong feelings about whether the city should strengthen protections for its residents who rent.
If it was up to me, I would reverse the entire thing tonight. I don't believe it's necessary. Our job is to protect the city, and I have strong concerns that there may be liability.
That's Councilmember Yadira Altamirano at last week's city council meeting. She and Councilmember Seth Smith shared concerns with how the council approved a temporary ordinance last month, and both recused themselves from further discussion during the meeting. Under the temporary ordinance, landlords face new requirements with so-called no-fault evictions, when tenants are evicted even though they've paid their rent and not violated terms of the lease. Mayor Allison Snow leads what appears to be a 3-member majority in favor of making a permanent ordinance. At a previous meeting, she said it's needed to confront the housing crisis.
Every day we sit on our hands and pretend like there's nothing that we can do is one day that one more person joins our homeless population.
The city's expanded renter protections end around August. So Snow and council members Jessica Heredia and Jennifer Mendoza directed city staff to host 2 public workshops about the ordinance. Those are scheduled for later this month and April. Elaine Alfaro, KPBS News.
On I'm Amna Nawaz. Tonight on the News Hour, we speak with Iran's foreign minister about the war with the U.S. and Israel. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
And now back to our lead story we were unable to get to earlier, the war in Iran. KPBS military reporter Andrew Dyer spoke to one expert who says the way the administration describes early operations as successful doesn't mean there's a coherent strategy.
Airstrikes from guided missiles, fighter jets, and the first U.S. torpedo strike since World War II. The Pentagon says it struck more than 3,000 targets in the first week of operations in Iran. On CBS 60 Minutes last night, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said U.S. capabilities are overwhelming compared to what Iran's are.
But we can be clear with the American people that this is not a fair fight, and that's on purpose.
Jonathan Grobert is a professor at San Diego State and the chair of the political science department. He compares how the administration is talking about the conflict to the way the U.S. leaders talked about the war in Vietnam.
That used to be the old propaganda line that U.S. military and political leaders gave to the American people in the 1960s. What they didn't tell you was their private assessment that came out in the Pentagon Papers is that, yeah, we can win all these battles, but we're losing the hearts and minds.
On the first day of the conflict, President Donald Trump urged Iranians to rise up and seize power.
When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations.
Grobert specializes in international relations and the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. He says it's not clear what the military's objectives are, let alone if they can be achieved by force.
So to actually create a stable regime, it couldn't really do this in Iraq, right, with a massive ground invasion. And there, Saddam Hussein and his regime was much weaker than the current regime in Iran.
But Hegseth has repeatedly denied the goal of the war is regime change, like last week at a Pentagon news conference.
This is not Iraq. This is not endless. I was there for both. Our generation knows better, and so does this president. He called the last 20 years of nation-building wars dumb, and he's right. This is the opposite.
For Grobert, it's the long-term consequences of the war he's worried about. Since President Donald Trump didn't go to the UN or Congress before acting, he says that could give other military powers permission to pursue their own wars of aggression.
I am very worried as we may now be at the death knell for what was an impressive post-World War II accomplishment of making war illegal and regulating war crimes. We've moved in the negative direction.
On Sunday, the Pentagon announced a 7th U.S. service member killed in action. An Army sergeant died from wounds sustained in an Iranian strike on U.S. troops in Saudi Arabia March 1st. Andrew Dyer, KPBS News.
Alexander Butterfield, the White House aide who revealed the existence of President Richard Nixon's secret taping system, has passed away. Butterfield answered questions as to who knew about the recording devices during a Watergate testimony. The 99-year-old died today at his home in La Jolla. He was born April 6th, 1926 in Pensacola, Florida. Butterfield attended UCLA before then joining the Navy. He later earned additional degrees, including a master's in history at UC San Diego in 1994. Iran has a new leader, the son of the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, who was killed by airstrikes at the start of the U.S.-Israeli war with Iran. Brian Abel has the latest from Washington on day 10 of the conflict.
The new leader of Iran is someone U.S. President Donald Trump previously said would be unacceptable. He is the son of the previous supreme leader killed at the beginning of the conflict in Iran. And Khamenei's installment is viewed by some experts as an act of defiance by the regime. You may remember unconditional surrender is what President Trump said it will take to end this conflict. And Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth was asked at a 60 Minutes interview what unconditional surrender looks like.
It means we set the terms.
We'll know when they're not capable of fighting. There'll be a point where they'll have no choice but to do that.
Hegseth, in that interview, also not ruling out the possibility of U.S. boots on the ground. And that potential is leading to fears by some of the possibility of a military draft in America. Fears not quelled by the White House press secretary in a Fox News interview.
It's not part of the current plan right now, but the president, again, wisely keeps his options on the table.
As the conflict continues, the price of oil skyrockets, reaching its highest since 2022. And the Pentagon says the 7th U.S. soldier killed in this conflict is 26-year-old Army Sergeant Benjamin Pennington, fatally wounded at the beginning of the war during a strike on a U.S. airbase in Saudi Arabia. Meanwhile, Lebanon's president is calling for direct talks with Israel and an immediate ceasefire, vowing to disarm Iran-backed Hezbollah. In Washington, Brian Abel reporting.
We're going to take a quick look at what local gas prices are today. The average price for regular gas in San Diego County jumped to $5.24 a gallon today. That is up 4 cents from yesterday and more than 53 cents from a week ago. Yesterday's 6-cent increase was the highest one-day increase in September of 2022. According to Auto Club of Southern California, rising prices are due in part to the war in Iran and a shift to summer blend gasoline production. School board members spend a lot of time making decisions that affect a community's kids, and they've often not been paid very much to do the job. But that is changing in some parts of San Diego County. KPBS education reporter Katie Anastas says a new state law is giving school boards their first opportunity for a major pay raise in 40 years.
California allows school board members to get monthly compensation for their service. A new state law updates how much they can get paid for the first time since 1984. Previously, they could earn no more than $1,500 a month, depending on the size of the school district. Now, board members in small districts can get up to $600, and in large districts, they can get up to $4,500. California Assembly member Jose Luis Solache wrote the bill. He says he was 23 when he was elected to his local school board and got paid $400 a month.
In many districts, the level of compensation makes it harder for individuals who are supporting themselves and their families to consider serving on school board, especially when I was looking at 23 years old. Can you imagine $400?
School boards throughout San Diego County have given themselves raises since the law went into effect in January. Some have faced opposition from teachers' unions and community members. The South Bay Union School District is preparing to close schools amid declining enrollment. The district plans to send layoff notices to more than 50 teachers and other staff this month. On Thursday, union representatives asked the board to consider postponing an increase for now.
Maybe wait. Hold off on a raise until we are out of the woods. Show employees, families, and the community that we're all sacrificing together and all pulling in the same direction, because right now your decision will send a message.
The board voted to increase its pay from $275 to $1,200 a month. Board member Jose Lopez Aguino says it could allow more parents to represent South Bay's community on the school board.
Most of the families in our district are struggling to make ends meet. There's no way a parent is going to be able to be here and represent the community. That's why school boards are usually old, rich, white people.
In 2025, the California School Boards Association surveyed school board members about their demographics. More than 60% of respondents said they were white. Meanwhile, more than half of California's students are Latino, and 20% are white. Aguino says he's been debating whether or not to run for re-election next year because he can't afford to live in San Diego anymore. He's been looking for a replacement.
It's so hard to recruit somebody. There's not one person so far that I've came across that's interested in doing this job. So I think if I told them they were going to get paid $1,200 a month, that might help.
We know that school board members are not demographically representative of their communities.
Julie Marsh studies education policy at the University of Southern California. She recently surveyed 800 school board members throughout the state. She says the stipend increase could allow a wider range of people to bring their expertise to the role.
Even just beyond just the demographic representation and diversity, people also wanted more diverse thought and perspective, and it sort of narrowed the lens of the viewpoints that were of the people who were coming to the board.
She says compensation is just one barrier to serving on a school board. It also takes a lot of time. Boards review budgets, evaluate a superintendent, visit schools, and meet with community members.
We heard from them over and over that it was more time intensive than they had ever expected, and that they were struggling to balance the commitments of the board with their employment, with their family, and other responsibilities.
All that together means fewer people running for school board seats. Half of the board members Marsh surveyed said they ran unopposed or were appointed in their last election. If no one runs, school boards have to appoint someone to fill vacant seats. South Bay board member Cheryl Quinones hopes the higher pay will help avoid that.
I would rather have an open election with somebody running that's elected by the people, not appointed by a board.
Del Mar, Grossmont, Lemon Grove, and other school boards have already voted to increase their pay. Santee's board plans to consider it this month. Katie Anastas, KPBS News.
GLP-1 drugs are used by millions of people. Popular brands such as Ozempic, Wegovy, and Zepbound are approved to treat diabetes and obesity, but a recent analysis found their impacts may go well beyond changing health outcomes. Michael Yoshida explains how the drugs could be changing the broader economy.
Here we got a vaca frita.
Cuban classics with a twist.
Similar ingredients, different portion.
Inside the kitchen at Cuba Libre, Chef Angel Roca preparing meals for a GLP-1 specific menu.
Keeping a good amount of protein, 25 to 30 grams per portion. Reduce by 40% the rice and beans and adding some fiber.
Special selections that launched last year after co-founder Barry Guten spoke with customers and friends who were on the popular weight loss drugs.
They each told me a story about how hard it is to order in a restaurant, how they have to order, how they have to eat, and we learned a lot that day.
It's not just the food industry adapting to meet the needs of customers turning to these medications.
There's also ripple effects on many other categories of spend that these drugs are causing. This is one of the most significant consumer adoption trends we have seen in a really long time.
A recent PwC analysis found GLP-1s are changing consumer behavior. How people eat, shop, work out, travel, even perceive themselves and make decisions is being reshaped.
They're thinking about health and wellness for their whole household differently after they go on the drug, and they're purchasing differently for everyone in the household.
PwC's Ali Furman says these ripple effects across industries will only grow as these medications become more accessible.
We're just starting to see the full breadth of implications that these weight loss drugs could have on consumption, consumer spending, and just overall society.
In Washington, Michael Yoshida.
San Diego FC made a statement in its first ever season last year, and it's carrying that momentum with a hot start to the season as well. The team extended its winning streak to 3 in an away match against Sporting Kansas City over the weekend. San Diego won with a score of 1-2-0 thanks to forward Andrew Dryers, who has scored at least 1 goal or assist in all 3 matches. Saturday's win makes SDFC one of 6 teams that remain undefeated in the MLS so far.
And of course there's still things to improve on, but there always is. And I think at the end of the day we have to be proud of this kind of strong professional win on the road. And then yeah, it's just another step in the right direction, because we got a lot of games coming up, so it's not about getting too high or too low in the moments of success or adversity. It's just about taking it one step at a time.
SDFC will face Toluca in their next match. That's Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. at Snapdragon Stadium.
Well, it was a very warm weekend. Now cooler air has certainly arrived. The wind has shifted, and it's more of an onshore breeze. The winds have died down a bit, too. Later this week, though, the heat is going to return. It's going to gradually build Wednesday and Thursday. And by the time we get to Thursday afternoon, we'll begin a stretch of days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, in which we're going to be close to record highs. So very impressive warmth coming for mid-March. Tonight, 55 degrees, mainly clear skies out there. A little cooler for most inland areas. And Tuesday looks nice, very pleasant. Seasonable, classic early March weather. We look good. There will be some rain in other parts of the southwest. Parts of Arizona, New Mexico, far west Texas, not our issue here locally. We look nice and bright. And you're going to see, again, just a few fair weather clouds. And also there's some low-level clouds as well in the morning. So some of that marine layer will be out there. Then a few fair weather cumulus clouds may pop over the mountains into the afternoon. Otherwise, 68 degrees to 71. Most of us relatively close to that in the heart of the metro. A little warmer to El Cajon. And then we really get warmer on Wednesday. It's all about the wind here in Southern California. And when that breeze begins to shift offshore, we heat up in a big way. And we're going to take the orange all the way to the coastline here on Thursday. Suddenly steamy with near record highs. And again, we stay very warm with that offshore breeze Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So Thursday through Sunday, 4 days in a row with near record warmth. Here we go. Coastal areas. Tuesday, nice and cool, upper 60s to near 70. Wednesday, a little warmer, but it suddenly jumps about 10, 11 degrees from Wednesday to Thursday. We're going to stay very warm here Friday, and then some of us will begin to back off a little bit in the heat Saturday, but it's going to stay warm for most of us. Inland areas, look at this. We're going from the low 70s to the low to mid 90s. That's a big jump there. Still bright and dry, still warm Saturday, but again, the peak of the heat may end up being Friday, Thursday and Friday, very warm. Into the mountains we go. Here you're going to see we go from 50 to 60. It's not as dramatic here in the high elevations, but a little warmer here on Saturday, up to 70 degrees. And in the deserts, here we're looking at the heat gradually building a big crescendo. And in this area here, we're going to be seeing the record heat build, or at least near record heat. It doesn't back off on Saturday here. So low to mid 90s Friday and Saturday. So enjoy the early part of the week here. Tuesday looks great. We're going to be sweating it out later on. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jeff Cornish for KPBS News.
And here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. With updated designs and zoning codes, more suburbs and cities are turning to manufactured homes for affordable housing. That story tomorrow on NPR's Morning Edition. And the widening war in the Middle East may be bringing up anxieties and questions for kids. A therapist is joining KPBS Midday Edition to discuss how to have those conversations with your children. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.